My name is Melanie Bass, 27 years old, and for as long as I can remember, my life has felt like a puzzle with half the pieces missing. I used to think the missing pieces were my fault. Maybe I was too sensitive, too quiet, too easy to push around. But the truth is, the person who broke me started when we were both still children. My older sister, Lisa, made it her mission to ruin me. When I was 8 and she was 11, she pantsed me in front of a group of her friends at school. I still remember the shrieks of laughter, the blur of faces, the sound of someone gasping. Oh my God, she actually did it. I remember the sting on my skin, but more than that, I remember the heat in my face, humiliation boiling from my chest to my scalp. That was the first time I understood that Lisa enjoyed watching me crumble. It only escalated from there. At school, Lisa was treated like some kind of teenage prodigy. Beautiful, smart, effortlessly charismatic. Teachers adored her. Kids followed her like she was made of sunlight and social gravity. So when she whispered rumors about me, calling me weird, calling me a freak, inventing disgusting lies about my sexuality and behavior, everyone believed her without hesitation. She weaponized her popularity like a blade, slashing my chances of fitting in before I even tried. At home, she played a different role, a perfect daughter, a tender sister. She'd wrap her arm around me in front of our mom and say, "Mel's having a tough week. I'm trying to help her." And then later, behind closed doors, she'd shove me into walls or slap notebooks out of my hands or whisper, "No one's ever going to like you." I tried telling teachers, even our school counselor, but no one listened. No one believed me. Lisa was untouchable. The only people who eventually saw through her were our parents. I remember the day it happened. Dad walked into the living room as Lisa was pushing me hard enough that I stumbled over the coffee table. The look in his eyes changed. Something clicked, almost like the illusion cracked right in front of him. They tried to talk to school officials, but the school refused to take it seriously. "Lisa is one of our highest achievers," they kept saying. "We haven't seen any concerning behavior." It was infuriating. It was hopeless. So my parents did the only thing they believed could protect me. They moved me to another school. Not her, just me. Because I was the one bleeding. I was the one breaking. I felt abandoned and rescued all at once. But the damage was already deep. I stopped trusting people. Stopped talking. Stopped believing I deserved kindness. Even years later, those feelings clung to me like wet clothes. By high school, Lisa perfected her act. She'd brag about how many friends she had, how many boys liked her, how many teachers praised her. Meanwhile, I stayed small, invisible, buried behind a shell of survival. At university, when I moved across the country, it felt like stepping into the sunlight for the first time. A clean slate, a chance to breathe. My parents helped me find a therapist, someone who taught me how to untangle old trauma bit by bit. It didn't heal everything, not even close, but it gave me enough hope to imagine a life separate from Lisa. And a few years later, I met Ethan. Ethan was gentle, patient in a way I wasn't used to. He never pushed for details about my past, never tried to fix me. He just existed beside me like a quiet anchor. We've been together for 3 years now. He knows enough to understand I don't have a relationship with my sisters. Sabrina is the oldest, Jenna is in the middle, and then Lisa. But he doesn't know all of it. He doesn't know the worst parts. Some things are too exhausting to repeat. I thought I escaped that life. I thought distance made me untouchable. I was wrong. 2 weeks ago, Ethan walked into the kitchen holding a letter. A real letter, not an email, not a message, folded, handwritten, and addressed to me in the looping cursive I recognized instantly. My stomach flipped. "It's from your sister," he said. "Lisa." The room tilted. My pulse throbbed in my ears. Just seeing her name made something tighten in my throat. "Did you read it?" I asked. "No," he said, but I could tell he skimmed enough to know the general idea. "Do you want me to read it first? Just to make sure it isn't, I don't know, hurtful." Part of me wanted to burn it unopened. Part of me wanted to crumble. Part of me was 12 years old again, covered in bruises and lies. "Fine," I said, "read it." He unfolded it carefully, like it was some fragile artifact instead of a grenade. The letter was long, pages long, emotional, manipulative, the kind of thing Lisa excelled at. She confessed to past harm, wrote about being abused herself by someone outside our family, claimed she acted out because she was hurting. She wrote about therapy, about wanting to make amends, about wanting to be an aunt to my future children. Every line felt like a knife wrapped in silk. I felt nothing at first. Not anger, not sadness, just numbness. A buzzing void. Ethan looked at me with soft eyes. Mel, this sounds like she's trying. No, I said immediately. You don't even want to meet once? Maybe in public? Just talk? I shook my head hard. She doesn't get a second chance. Ethan exhaled, disappointed, but trying not to show it. I think forgiveness is important, he murmured. Not for her, for you. Forgiveness. That word had always felt like a trap. I went to therapy the next day. I showed my therapist the letter. She said something similar to Ethan. Forgiveness doesn't have to mean reconciliation, but maybe acknowledging her apology could help you untie old knots. But I'm not sure they understand. Lisa doesn't get to write herself into my healing arc. She doesn't get to rewrite the story. And then today, this morning, I got another message. Not from Lisa, from Jenna, then Sabrina, then both. Back to back, all variations of, please talk to her. She's changed. She deserves a second chance. She wants to apologize in person. I blocked them all, but each one left this pit in my stomach, like something old and rotten crawling back to the surface. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Ethan texted me from work. We need to talk tonight. It's about your sisters. My blood went cold. I know this feeling too well. It's the feeling I had every time Lisa smiled sweetly before ripping me apart. There's a storm coming, and this time I'm not sure I'm ready. By the time Ethan came home that evening, my nerves were so raw I felt like the thinnest layer of skin was covering a storm. He walked in quietly, almost cautiously, setting his keys down like he was afraid to make a sound that might shatter me. We need to talk, he said softly. I already knew. I'd been replaying the message all day. He pulled out a chair at the dining table. I sat across from him, my arms folded like armor. Your sisters reached out again, Ethan said, exhaling slowly. This time, to me. My heart dropped. I told them not to, I whispered. I told them I didn't want contact. They said they knew, he replied. They apologized to me, Mel. And they said Lisa is trying really hard to fix what she broke. I closed my eyes, hard. Ethan, I said, my voice tight. They don't get to bypass my boundaries by going through you. He hesitated, and I saw it, a flicker of guilt. How many times have you talked to them? I asked quietly. Just a few messages, he said. Nothing big, but they seem sincere. Sincere. The same word teachers used about Lisa when they believed every lie she spun. I pushed my chair back. I'm not doing this. I'm not entertaining this. And I'm not letting them play you. Melanie, listen. No, you listen. My voice cracked. They abused me for years. They didn't protect me. They didn't believe me. And now they just get to show up with a letter and a sad tone, and suddenly I'm supposed to open the door? Ethan rubbed his forehead. I just think maybe you should hear them out. I felt something inside me snap, quietly, like a thread breaking. I'm sending them a cease and desist, I murmured. If they contact me or you again, I'll escalate it legally. Ethan's face fell. Mel, that's extreme. So is spending my entire childhood being tortured, I shot back. The air between us thickened, a wall forming brick by brick. The next morning, I drafted a formal letter. Sterile, legal, cold. A clear boundary carved into paper. Once it was sent, I felt a flicker of relief, a moment of breath. But Ethan, he barely spoke to me all day. That night, I tried to reach for him in bed, but he turned onto his side, pretending the shift was natural. It hurt. A small, quiet kind of hurt. The kind that dissolves into your bloodstream. For 2 days, we existed like that, parallel but distant. On the third day, everything came crashing down. I went out for groceries, trying to distract myself from the tension. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed a silver car parked there. Not Ethan's, not mine. A sinking feeling gripped my stomach. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't do this. He wouldn't betray me like this. I pushed the front door open quietly, hoping, praying I was wrong. But there she was, Sabrina, sitting on my couch, smiling as if she belonged here, as if she hadn't ignored my trauma for decades. Melanie, she said, bright and chirpy. It's so good to see you. I froze, dead still. My body went cold, my heart went hot, an explosion of panic and rage rising at once. Ethan came out of the kitchen, his voice falsely calm. She just wanted to talk. I looked at him like he'd slapped me. You let her inside our home? My voice trembled, each word sharp and fragile. He swallowed. I thought, if you saw she wasn't here to hurt you. You thought? I cut him off. You thought? Ethan, this isn't a surprise party. This is my trauma, my boundaries, my life. Sabrina stood slowly. Melanie, sweetie, I just wanted to... Don't call me that, I snapped. You don't get to use pet names. You don't get to pretend we're close. She blinked, stunned. I'm trying to make amends. You had years, I hissed. Years to defend me. Years to protect me. Years to say something. And now you show up in my house without my consent? That's not amends, that's entitlement. Ethan put his hand on my arm. A gentle gesture. Wrong time, wrong place. I jerked away. Get out, I said, my voice low. Sabrina's face fell. Melanie, please. Now. She hesitated for a moment, maybe expecting a softer version of me, but then scrambled to grab her purse and hurried out the door with a muttered apology. The second she left, I turned on Ethan. What did you think was going to happen? I demanded. My voice was shaking with rage, with betrayal. That I'd hug her? That I'd cry and thank you for it? I thought she deserved a chance, he said quietly. She deserved nothing, I shot back. And you went behind my back. You let her into our home. You blindsided me. Ethan stepped forward helplessly. Mel, I was trying to help. You didn't help, I whispered. You broke something. He exhaled sharply. Is this really worth destroying our relationship over? If you ever do something like this again, I said, each word punched out like a warning. If you ever bring anyone into this house without telling me, especially my family, I will seriously reconsider our future. His face paled. He finally understood. For the rest of the weekend, we barely spoke. I hid in my studio space, a corner downstairs with my work desk and sketchbooks. It was the only place that felt like mine. I worked until my fingers cramped, anything to stop the thoughts from spiraling. But on Sunday night, Ethan knocked on the studio door. We need to talk. My stomach twisted. Not again. I didn't tell you everything, he said softly, about your sisters. I stared at him, dread sinking in. What else did you do? He swallowed, hard. Mel, I've met with them. More than once. My heart stopped. My lungs locked. My brain buzzed with static. What? I whispered. They reached out. They said they wanted to explain. They showed me pictures. They told me things about Lisa's condition. Things I didn't know how to tell you. I stared, wide-eyed, trembling. You went behind my back, I said, voice barely audible. Again. Mel, wait, he pleaded. You need to hear what they told me. It's about Lisa, about why she's doing all this, about what's been happening the last year. I backed away from him, my chest rising and falling too fast. Just listen, he said desperately. It's not what you think. I shook my head, but something in his tone, fear, urgency, told me he wasn't lying. What happened? I finally whispered. Ethan swallowed. It's about Lisa. She had a breakdown, a bad one, and your sisters think you deserve to know the truth. A chill ran through me. The truth, a phrase I had never trusted in my family. What truth? I breathed. Ethan's voice dropped. Lisa hurt someone, badly, and the police got involved. My blood turned to ice. Everything in me screamed that I wasn't ready for this. But the story was already unraveling. Ethan stood in the doorway, shoulders tense, eyes soft but terrified. It was the look of someone who knew the truth he carried could blow our life apart. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The house felt too small, too quiet, too fragile for what he was about to say. Just tell me, I finally whispered. He exhaled shakily. Mel, Lisa didn't just write a letter. She's been spiraling for a long time now. Worse than anyone realized. My stomach twisted. Spiraling how? He swallowed, searching for the right words. It started with her lying, about Jenna's husband. My head snapped up. What about Brady? She accused him of... Ethan hesitated. She told people he was having an affair with one of her co-workers. I blinked. Hard. Brady? The man who cried watching Disney movies? The man who once carried me to my dorm room after I sprained my ankle on a staircase? She made it up, I whispered. Yes, Ethan said. Completely. She told everyone she had proof, but when your sisters pressed her about it, the proof kept changing. Stories didn't match up. She slipped on details she'd already given. Eventually, Jenna confronted her, and Lisa snapped. A familiar heaviness settled in my chest, the kind that comes when old trauma recognizes its origin. What did she do? I asked. Ethan's face twisted. She went to their house one afternoon while Jenna was out running errands. Their youngest, Tyler, was watching cartoons. He was being loud, just a normal 5-year-old. My throat tightened. Tyler, my favorite nephew, the kid who used to run to me screaming, Auntie Mel, until I moved across the country. What happened to him? I whispered, barely breathing. Ethan's eyes lowered. Lisa kicked him. A cold shock tore through me. She what? She front kicked him, Ethan said, the words trembling. He flew backward and hit his head on the edge of their coffee table. Oh my God! I covered my mouth, horror ripping through me. He's okay now, Ethan added quickly. Just a bruise, but Brady saw the whole thing. He rushed in when he heard the scream. My heart was pounding, my vision blurry with shock and rage. At first, Brady froze, Ethan continued. He couldn't believe she actually did it. Then he grabbed Tyler, held him, and told Lisa to get out. Lisa, completely lost it, started screaming that Tyler was acting possessed, that he was provoking her. I staggered back, gripping the edge of my desk for balance. I knew she was cruel, I whispered. But this is different. It gets worse, Ethan said quietly. Your mom came over after Brady called her. By the time she got there, Lisa was smashing things in the living room. She tried to shove your mother when she stepped between her and Tyler. I felt sick. All the oxygen in the room disappeared. Brady called the police, Ethan added. When the officers arrived, they had no choice. They handcuffed her, took her for psychiatric evaluation instead of jail time because, well, she wasn't making sense. None of her sentences connected. A cold, hollow silence swallowed the room. How long was she hospitalized? I asked. 3 weeks, Ethan said. And when she got out, the doctors diagnosed her with multiple conditions. Your sisters told me she's still in treatment. But she's unstable, Mel. Unpredictable. I pressed my hand against my chest as if I could hold myself together with my palm alone. And they expect me to forgive her? I asked, bitterness creeping into my voice. No, Ethan said carefully. Your sisters told me they don't want Lisa anywhere near you. They're terrified she'll hurt someone again. They've banned her from their homes. Jenna's husband refuses to be in the same building as her. Brady said if she ever tries to see Tyler again, he'll call the police immediately. I closed my eyes. And my parents? I asked. Ethan hesitated. Your mom is trying to keep the peace, but even she agrees Lisa can only be allowed at family events if they're in public places. Lots of people. No children alone with her. My heart cracked. All those years of thinking my parents never took my side. All those years of believing they didn't see it, didn't care, didn't notice. They did. They just couldn't stop her. Ethan stepped closer, voice softening. Mel, Sabrina and Jenna didn't reach out because they want you to forgive Lisa. They reached out because they feel guilty, because they failed you, because they see now what you lived through. They told me they should have listened to you. Anger, grief, confusion, everything churned inside me, a storm with no center. And why didn't you tell me this sooner? I whispered. Ethan's expression broke. Because I knew it would hurt you, and because I didn't know how to say it without making everything worse. I stared at him, my eyes burning. But you kept meeting them. I know. His voice cracked. And I'm sorry. I messed up. I really did. But they were desperate, Mel. Not to push Lisa on you. God, no. They want you. Just you. They want to explain. They want to apologize. They want to fix things. I looked away, my pulse pounding in my ears. Fixing things doesn't erase the past, I said. I know, Ethan murmured. But maybe it's easier to breathe when people finally admit they hurt you. The room suddenly felt small, claustrophobic, as if every memory from childhood had crawled out of the walls and surrounded me. I sank onto the couch, staring at nothing. Your sisters want to meet, Ethan said gently. Just them, not Lisa. They chose a quiet pub so you wouldn't feel trapped. I never said I wanted to see them, I whispered. I know, he said. But maybe you want closure, even if it's messy, even if it's painful. I didn't answer, because I didn't know. For a long moment, we sat there in silence, both stunned by the weight between us. Finally, Ethan stepped closer and knelt in front of me. Please, he whispered, if you're willing, even just once, let them talk. You won't be alone. I'll sit right beside you, and if you want to leave after 5 minutes, we leave. My heartbeat thundered in my chest. I didn't realize until that moment that part of me was scared, terrified, not of my sisters, but of the possibility that their apologies might actually hurt more than their silence. Still, the words came out of my mouth before I fully processed them. Fine, I whispered, but on my terms. Ethan nodded quickly. Anything you want. No, Lisa, I said, not even near the building. Of course. No surprises, no ambushes. Never again. And you don't speak for me, not once. His voice softened. I won't. I took a deep breath. It felt like inhaling broken glass. Then I'll meet them, I said quietly. Ethan closed his eyes in relief. Little did I know, that meeting would change everything. The pub was quieter than I expected. A dim, amber-lit place with old wood floors, worn leather booths, and the faint smell of coffee that somehow lingered, even at 4 p.m. I arrived an hour early, not because I wanted extra time, but because I needed to sit alone in the space where everything might crack open. I ordered a beer, then another. Not enough to blur the edges, just enough to keep the fear from tightening around my ribs. At exactly 5:02, the door creaked open. Sabrina stepped inside first. Tall, composed, wearing a soft gray coat that made her look like she'd stepped out of a magazine instead of a real life where our family was a wreck. Jenna followed, smaller, wide-eyed, clutching her purse like it was a shield. And behind them, two familiar figures sitting at a distant table, pretending not to look at me. Their husbands, the silent backup, just in case. My chest tightened. Sabrina smiled nervously. Melanie. Jenna gave a tiny wave. Hi. I nodded stiffly. Sit. They slid into the booth across from me, glancing at the beers on the table, but wisely not commenting. For a full 30 seconds, none of us spoke. Finally, Sabrina cleared her throat. Thank you for meeting us. We know you didn't have to. I didn't want to, I said, not unkindly, just honest. Jenna winced. We know. Another silence settled, awkward, heavy. Sabrina opened her mouth again, but she didn't get the chance. Jenna broke first. I'm sorry, she blurted, voice cracking. I'm so sorry, Mel, for everything, for not believing you, for not protecting you, for being a coward. Her sudden tears startled me so much I froze. She grabbed a napkin and dabbed her eyes, but the words kept pouring out like a floodgate had broken. I thought Lisa was just dramatic. I didn't know she was dangerous until she hurt Tyler, until she almost destroyed my marriage. I should have believed you years ago. I should have listened. I'm so sorry. Her voice shook so violently that her husband looked over from across the pub, concern etched on his face. Sabrina reached over and squeezed Jenna's hand before turning to me. Melanie, she said softly, you weren't imagining things. You weren't exaggerating. You weren't the problem. Lisa was. Her words hit me like a physical blow. For years, I dreamed of someone in my family saying that. But hearing it now, it hurt more than I expected. I didn't think anyone would believe me, I whispered. We didn't, Sabrina admitted. And that's our fault. We were old enough to know better, old enough to see. But Lisa manipulated everyone, not just you. We failed you as sisters, and we're sorry. My throat tightened painfully. They looked at me, waiting, hoping, terrified. I'm not ready to forgive, I said quietly, but I hear you. Relief washed over both their faces, softening something tight in the air. Jenna sniffled. Can we show you something? She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. A picture of Tyler popped up. Missing front tooth, chocolate-smeared grin. He keeps asking about you, she whispered. We never told him what happened between all of us. He just remembers you let him paint your face like a tiger once. A small, involuntary laugh escaped my lips. I remember. And Brady, Jenna continued, glancing at her husband. He wanted me to tell you he's sorry too. For believing Lisa, for letting her poison his opinion of you. Suddenly, to my shock, both husbands stood and walked over. I didn't expect that. Neither did the sisters. But they came anyway. Brady reached out his hand. Melanie, he said, voice low and sincere. I'm sorry. I should have trusted you, and I'm ashamed I didn't. Tears stung my eyes. I took his hand. He squeezed gently before stepping back. The other husband, Mark, nodded. We're all trying to rebuild, and we want you there, if you want to be there. I opened my mouth, but before I could respond, Sabrina spoke again. We're having a combined birthday next month. Jenna's little one and Mom. It's at the Botanical Garden. Public, safe, no Lisa. She's not allowed. Then, hesitantly, we'd love for you to come. My stomach twisted. I wasn't ready for that. Not even close. But when I looked up at Sabrina and Jenna, older, worn, humbled, I saw something new in them. Not pity, not expectation. Just sincerity. The weight in my chest loosened a little. We'll see, I said, leaning back. I can't promise. That's more than enough, Sabrina said softly. We talked for hours after that. Not deep things, not healing things, just normal things. Kids, jobs, memories from childhood that didn't hurt to remember. The silly ones, the harmless ones. For the first time in years, their laughter didn't feel like a weapon. Somewhere between my second and third drink, a warm blur settled into my head, and suddenly I heard myself saying, we should take a picture for Mom. Jenna paused, then smiled through her red, tear-stained eyes. Yeah, she whispered. Yeah, let's do that. We squeezed together awkwardly in the booth, our faces close in a way they hadn't been since we were children. I hit the shutter button. Click. The photo was imperfect. Puffy eyes, crooked smiles, dim pub lighting. but it was real. I sent it to Mom. My phone buzzed 30 seconds later. Mom, oh my God, I'm crying. I love you girls so much. My throat tightened. A minute later, another buzz. Ethan. Mel, I'm so proud of you. Another buzz, then another. It felt like the entire family woke up at the same time, shaken by a photo they never expected to see. By the time I got home, Ethan was waiting at the door, eyes glossy with emotion. I saw the picture, he whispered. I nodded. It happened. He wrapped me in his arms gently, like he was holding something fragile but hopeful. Later, as I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, I expected to feel lighter, healed, relieved. But the truth was messier. Their apologies helped. Their honesty mattered. But forgiveness wasn't a switch I could flip. It was a long road, maybe impossible in some places, maybe still blocked in others. Still, for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone in the story anymore. Someone finally saw what happened. Someone finally named it. Someone finally believed me. It didn't fix everything, but it loosened a knot I'd been carrying since childhood. Maybe healing wasn't supposed to be dramatic. Maybe it was moments like this, quiet, imperfect,